Hi, this is Carl Rust, and I've worked in schools for over 30 years. I've learned a lot about how people learn, and I wrote a book called Get Out of the Way and Let Kids Learn, How We Can Transform Schools and Reintroduce Natural Learning. Hey everybody, Carl Rust here. Get Out of the Way and Let Kids Learn podcast number 4. And today I'm at getting the car worked on, but I thought I'd give you a few tips on becoming a subversive sub. So I'm out getting my steps while they're working on my car. One thing I started to do about 2 years ago was become a subversive sub. And it's a good opportunity, a good time to do that because schools are desperate for substitute teachers. Even if you don't have a teaching license, even if you don't have a college degree, depending on the requirements or the stuff in your area, the requirements of what they require you to have, you may be able to be a substitute teacher. And it's a great opportunity to play with some of the ideas that I bring up in my book and I'm bringing up in this podcast about making school a little bit nicer place. Ultimately, I think the answer lies outside school, but in the meantime, we've got millions of kids in public schools who need us. So if you have any time or inclination to be a substitute teacher, here's a few pointers. First of all, you go into a room, you've decided to be a substitute teacher. You go in, the teacher's probably left you lesson plans for the day or the afternoon or the morning or whatever period of time you're scheduled to be there. And I would say, depending on your comfort level, feel free to ignore those plans. The idea is not to ingratiate yourself with the teacher or the school. The idea is to let kids experience some freedom. So look over the plans. Doesn't hurt to look them over. There might be some cool things to do in there. I would say start off by talking to the kids and just kind of get an idea of what the flavor of the class is. And it's okay to go ahead and follow the schedule if you want to. But I would say follow it in a way that's non-coercive. So if a kid is off in the corner doing something on his iPad or reading a book, I would just leave them alone. I always talk to a group about what I call personal responsibility. So I say something like, hey, I'm a visitor to this class. You guys are the citizens of the class. You know the expectations. You know the rules and regulations. So it's up to you to decide what you're going to do. But if you see someone else doing something that you think is against the class rules, you don't have to tell me about that. Don't worry about that. Take personal responsibility for yourself. If you're doing the right thing and everybody else is doing the right thing, we'll have no issues. But I'm not going to police iPads. So you will see a lot of kids playing games, watching videos. You may have to bring the class together and say, hey, I noticed that the noise level is getting to be a little bit noisy for me. Because remember, you are a person. You have rights, just as well as the younger people. So don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with running around, screaming. It doesn't make me feel good. So what can we do? One of the things I've done a lot as a teacher when I go back into conventional public school, is if there's an issue going on, I bring it to the kids, to the community, and I say, hey, this is a problem for me. What do you all think? And then you can talk about it and write some suggestions and do a vote. And even in doing that little bit, just that little tiny bit, you've told kids that they have agency, that they have the ability to make some decisions as a group, and that they have some responsibility as a group. Let's see, what else would I say? Okay, going to the bathroom. A lot of teachers will leave in their plans, no one is to go to the restroom, and I totally ignore that because I am, and if anybody ever asked me, I would just say, I'm not changing clothes, I don't want puddles on the floor. So I will not restrict the use of the restroom for students. If they say they have to go, I say go. If they are being irresponsible and causing trouble, then they'll have to take responsibility for that. And sometimes I say that, if you get in trouble because of what you're doing in the restroom, that's on you. What else can you do? Sometimes what I do is I also ask them how they feel about school. I say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best and 0 being the worst, or 1 being the worst, how do you feel? And they give me all kinds of answers to that, depending on the age level especially. I find the older kids tend to be a little more negative. Younger kids tend to be a little more positive. Then I've often asked them, what do you like about school? What are the parts of school that you really like, you enjoy? And make a list. And then I also say, what parts of school would you change if you could? What would you change? And then sometimes, depending on the level and the setting and the interest, I will also invite them, not require, invite them to plan a school of their own. If you could make a school any way you wanted, what would it look like? And they tend to dwell on more superficial things like lunch, recess, things like that, but that's fine. Again, we're trying to plant a seed, just a little seed, saying school can be different. It could be something for you. And don't stress yourself out. If things are getting a little crazy, it's okay to bring the group together and say, hey, this isn't working for me. I might have to call for some help if you guys don't settle down. But overall, I think if we can get into the school system and show kids and adults there is a different way of doing things, we might be able to see some change. And at least they have a day where they have fun and they do what they want to. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 of Get Out of the Way and Let Kids Learn. And as I said, my little introduction piece there where I talked about becoming a subversive sub, that you can actually become a substitute teacher. And I did this, and my original thought was, they're going to eventually ban me from schools. They're going to say, don't come back anymore. That's okay. We've got it. But that never happened. It's because the situation is they need substitute teachers really badly. So it's one way you can have an impact on a kid's day. So today we're going to talk about play. Is play important? Shouldn't kids be working at school? And it's related to the world of work and how we feel about jobs in general. So chapter 4 in my book is play and extra, is it less important than instruction? And certainly that would be the attitude of most conventional schools, that play takes second place, maybe even third or fourth place. I don't know how many places there are. So here's my little vignette that I use at the beginning of each chapter to kind of set the tone for the chapter. Kasai, aged 8, is standing on a thingamajig, twirling around on the playground. She starts talking about how she can cast spells on people. If I'm in a bad mood, it could be a bad spell. But if I'm in a good mood, it might turn you into a unicorn. Unicorns are good, and they battle the evil Pegasus. Some of the unicorns lost their horns and grew wings and became evil. Those are the evil Pegasus. They fight each other, and the good unicorns always win. I told her that we should write all that down in a book and draw some pictures, and she said, no, it's a secret. You can't tell anyone. Actually, that actually happened. True story. Little girl who I was working with in our program was telling me all about the Pegasus and the unicorns. And in the background is that girl was a girl that couldn't make it in first and second grade at elementary school because she just did not want to sit down. She did not want to follow directions, but very lively imagination. So Peter Gray, I've mentioned him before, in his book, Free to Learn, and all his work, has established the importance of play Play is a natural learning tool for all mammals. If you observe any mammals in nature, they learn through playing. And if you think about human beings from birth, they explore their world and, like young scientists, experiment with language, movement, and social interactions. If you think about it, they learn a ton of things their first few years with no instruction. Do you have to teach a baby how to walk? Do you have to teach a baby how to crawl to eventually speak? These are massive achievements that they make during their before preschool years with no instruction. They're looking around, they're curious, they want to know what's going on around here. What is this place? Who are these people and these other things I see around here? Can I eat them? Are they good to eat? Are they soft? Are they hard? That kind of thing. Children learn and explore naturally and play. This does not end unless we may put an end to it. Sometimes we mistakenly do that because we think, oh boy, we better get them ready for school because all this running around exploring is not going to work. And so we start trying when they're 2 and 3 and 4. We got to get you ready for school. You're going to have to sit down. You're going to have to be quiet. But what I've seen is even older kids, because I've worked with a lot of 5th and 6th graders, a little older than that, if you give them the opportunity, they will engage in play. It's really pretty amazing to see. Even in the conventional school, where they've been beat down and play has been kind of beat out of them, if you give them a little bit of room. So I did a long-term sub-position in 6th grade, and I was there from the end of January till the end of the school year in May. And after time, kids started playing. These 11, 12, and 13-year-olds started playing. It's a natural instinct. And we can turn it off. But why? Why do we do that? So if you're lucky enough to go to have a kindergarten experience or K1 experience with an enlightened educator, you may get some doses of play in there. But I've also seen kindergartens when I was assistant principal. I got to go through every classroom every day, and I saw some classrooms where there was some play going on, and I saw some kindergartens where it was absolutely business. From the minute they walked in the door to the minute they went home, it was sit down, do your work. Here's another worksheet. Here's another worksheet. So it's luck of the draw. If you happen to have an enlightened teacher or an enlightened school, wow, then play can happen. But in a lot of places, it's frowned upon. Adults are worried about, we talked last time about standards. They're worried about standards. How will we get the standards in if we allow younger people time to play? And not realizing that they are actually getting in the way of learning. So if you take a step back, get out of the way, take a step back, let children play, they will learn naturally. Unnatural learning is worksheets, sitting down, listening to the teacher. That's unnatural learning. That's imposed from outside of the world and actually damages and destroys creativity and eradicates natural learning. Also, schools try to take away free time, even in the evenings and weekends, because we give homework. We say it's not enough that we make you sit down and do this stuff during the day. You have to do it at night too. You have to do it on the weekends. And in some places, it almost seems like a crime if you don't have homework. Parents will ask their kids, do you have homework? No. What? What are you talking about? Because we're afraid of neighborhood dangers, we may not let younger people play outside. Because we're afraid of screen time and bad influence of the technology, we may not let them watch TV or play. So we try to structure all their time. The really crazy thing is, at school, in a lot of cases, if a kid is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, if they've got lots of energy and they want to get up and run around, or they want to talk, or they want to do something other than what the adult is asking them to do, they get their recess taken away. It's called recess detention, and it means if I don't get all my work or misbehave, I have to stay in a classroom or stand on the wall outside where other children are playing. Then the adults wonder why some kids go nuts before the day is over. All their time to play has been taken. Anthropologists have studied hunter-gatherer cultures and noticed, and they're disappearing, but there's several books out there that you can get. And here's one thing I want to tell you too. All the things that I'm talking about, go out and do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Just because I wrote a book and I've spent 30 years in schools doesn't mean I have all the answers. Go check it out. Do some self-directed learning. But they've studied hunter-gatherer groups, and typically in these groups, it's starting at about age 4, they consider a kid to be responsible enough to be on their own. And they go with other kids, and they go out in the bush, and they play. They experiment with the tools of their culture. So you have really young children experimenting with bows and arrows, knives. They're playing hunting games. They're doing all kinds of things, trying to get ready to become productive adults. And then as a result, what happens to them when they get older and they become adults? They've been described as being happy, cooperative, cheerful, considerate, and wonderful. And no whining. Isn't that amazing? My experience is that when our modern children are given time to play, they play with a lot of variety of things. They will sit and watch videos on YouTube. Yes. They will play video games like Minecraft and others. Yes. But they also will play outdoors. They love to skateboard, bike, hike, explore nature. They play complicated tag games, complicated games with each other. Sometimes they'll play cards or they'll play board games. And so, again, children growing will try to play with the tools of the culture. Well, what are the tools of our culture? Computers, a big part of our culture. And also just conversation, just speaking to each other and to adults. If you think about the workplace, a lot of interactions are verbal. Some are written, true, but a lot are verbal. So interacting with each other, and again, we noticed as time went by, the kids in our program got better at reasoning, giving reasons for things, compromising, and trying to get to a goal. So they would make a plan and they would work a plan, and sometimes it worked out and sometimes it didn't. September 2018, the American Academy of Pediatrics released a study, The Power of Play, a Pediatric Role in Enhancing Development in Young Children. And here it is. You can still get it online. If you look up the American Academy of Pediatrics, The Power of Play, you can download this article and read it. And I would love to sit here and read the whole thing to you. But again, use your own abilities and go out there and find this. These are doctors, pediatricians talking. And I'm just going to read you a little bit of the beginning. And there's gems throughout this. These are doctors that are studying about the health and well-being of younger people. Children need to develop a variety of skill sets to optimize their development and manage toxic stress. Research demonstrates that developmentally appropriate play with parents and peers is a singular opportunity to promote the social, emotional, cognitive, language, and self regulation skills that build executive function and a pro social brain. Furthermore, play supports the formation of the safe, stable, and nurturing relationships with all caregivers that children need to thrive. Play is not frivolous. It enhances brain structure and function and promotes executive function, i.e., the process of learning, rather than the content, which allow us to pursue goals and ignore distractions. Now, this next part, they talk about what happens if you don't get this when you're young. When play and safe, stable, nurturing relationships are missing in a children's life, toxic stress can disrupt the development of executive function and the learning of pro-social behavior. In the presence of childhood and adversity, play becomes even more important. The mutual joy and shared communication and attunement, harmonious serve and return interactions that parents and children can experience during play regulates the body's stress response. This clinical report provides pediatric providers with the information they need to promote the benefits of play. So I want to unpack that a little bit. First of all, play develops skill sets that are necessary in our modern world. Research demonstrates that play is a singular opportunity to promote the social, emotional, cognitive, language, self-regulation skills. So social, emotional, cognitive, language, which I've talked about before, and self-regulation. Self-regulation. In school, so many times we try to have outside regulation instead of promoting self-regulation. If I can regulate myself, I don't need an adult to tell me, don't hit, don't run, it's not safe. Don't scream profanities. I can regulate myself. But it's even more important for kids that are coming from a background where they're experiencing toxic stress in their daily existence. Play maybe doesn't happen at home in a nurturing, safe environment. So therefore, it has to happen at wherever they are, and school is the place that they end up. Almost 100%, not totally. So if we would look at kindergarten and first grade and second grade as an opportunity to promote play as a learning experience, and you see it all the time when you allow it to happen, and every single setting I've been in, just about, when kids find out that I'm not going to penalize them for doing things that they want to do, they become more creative, they become more social. And yeah, I'm not going to say it's a rosy picture, it's perfect all the time. There's bumps in the road. But when we look at alternatives, we can say, no, stop doing that. When it's maybe a positive, safe, pro-social behavior, and we're promoting cognitive development of the most basic and profound kind. So again, I'd love to read this whole thing to you, but it's out there. American Academy of Pediatrics, Power of Play. Find it, read it. See how you can apply it to your setting, wherever you are. So in my book, I talk about a school, Mountain Laurel Sudbury School, in Newington, Connecticut. On their website, they have a lot of websites have frequently asked questions. And one of the questions that pops up in Sudbury Valley Schools a lot, and just to give you a little background, Sudbury Valley Schools are pretty much run by the younger people. Everyone has a vote. It's democratically run. Everyone from the youngest to the oldest have one vote. Staff has one vote. Kids have one vote. And depending on the school, I mean, they're all different. So, one thing you'll find about a community of learners that's responding and trying to build community is they're not cookie cutters. So, they're not all exactly the same. And a lot of these, they even decide on who the staff is going to be. The school votes, they have a school meeting and they vote. They also, at a lot of these schools and a lot of other kinds of schools, kids kind of determine their own program. So if you can imagine being a 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old and you get to determine, I'm going to go to this class, I'm going to go to this class. I'm not going to go to any classes today because I'm feeling like I just want to sit and read a book or I want to run around. So at a school like that, the question that comes up a lot is, do students ever choose to play all day? And again, we think of school as a place to do work and they should be working. They can't be playing all the time. And the question is, do students ever choose to play all day? And here's the answer. In some cases, yes, and this is not viewed as a problem. Too often in the adult world, work is viewed as that which we don't want to do, but have to, while play is that which we want to do, but don't have time for. At MLSS, Mountain Laurel Sudbury School, play is recognized not only as a valuable learning tool, but as an essential ingredient of a happy life. Not only for young students, but for older ones and staff as well. As the line between work and play is blurred, students are able to graduate without the fear or resignation to work or the guiltiness around play that is all too common in our society. So, in schools and programs where kids are allowed to determine, there may be times when they play all day long. And Daniel Greenberg tells the story of Sudbury Valley, the original Sudbury Valley, of a student that came to them and for the first year, all he did was fish in the pond. Every day he would come and he would fish. And the next day he would fish. And then next day he would come and he would fish. And the parents came in, they were a little distraught, a little worried. We're really concerned about this, our kid, he's fishing, that's all he's doing. And the staff reassured them, it'll be fine. We trust the learner. Year 2 came and he fished all day long, every day, rain or shine, snow, sleet, or hail, he fished every day. And again, the parents came in, worried and distraught. What's happening with our kid? And they were reassured, and they, to their credit, they listened. Year 3 came along, and this kid discovered the computer lab. And now he spent all day, every day in the computer lab. And this is back before our modern computers, so they're a little bit more clunky, but he got involved in computers and building computers and how do they work, and just became an expert. And that became his career later on in life. He became an IT guy. What a wonderful world we would have if people loved to go to work and they looked on their work as play. So play is not number 2. Play should be number 1. That's weird. So let's think about free play compared with classroom instruction. Do we really want creative, critical thinkers? Do we really want problem solvers? Or do we want docile, compliant robots? Which do we really want? If we want critical thinkers who can express their ideas and back them up with reasoning, then we have to let children experience that. It can't come from adults in a transmission model. It has to come from situations that naturally arise during the course of their natural play and around interaction with others. If we want compliant children who are skilled in answering out-of-date questions transmitted from the teachers/standards, then we're running schools correctly. So I guess the first determination needs to be, what do you want? So here's my suggestions for you if you are in a school setting or have influence, and I'll say it again, you can have influence if you want to. Volunteer, go to school board meetings, speak at the end. There's lots of ways to have influence. Number 1, expand playtime as much as possible. Part of the day playing is better than no play at all. Expand it. In some places, we're down to 20 minutes of recess. I would say go as high as you can go. If you're a teacher, let them have some more. Start with 40 minutes and then go to 60 minutes. Number 2, whatever play that is happening, make sure is unstructured and totally free. You don't need to structure kids' playtime. Number 3, never, ever, ever take free time away. Take free playtime away as a punishment for overactive children. That's just the proverbial cutting off your nose to spite your face. Okay, so just about wrapped up for today. Next time I'm going to talk about how much should children and their families be involved in decision making. This is Carl Rust, Get Out of the Way and Let Kids Learn podcast. Check out unschoolingschool.com. But hopefully I'm planting some seeds in your brain to let you know that school can be done differently. Learning can be natural. Schools can transform, and you can be a part of that. So until next time, have a great day, and be nice to a kid today. This has been Get Out of the Way and Let Kids Learn podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe, follow, share, and leave a comment.